Welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. What's cooking up on today's show? 49ers cut candidates. That's what's coming up around the corner. But first, I want to hear from the faithful in the comment section right now, watching us on YouTube as well as Rumble, because we're talking about cut candidates and some of these transactions on the roster could be bold. I want you to give me one bold Niners prediction in the comment section right now. I'm going to circle back, see what you all come up with, and maybe I'll be able to generate some future show ideas right here on the 49ers Report. We start off our cut candidate list with an obvious name in Jimmy Garoppolo. A trade has not happened. Breaking news for any of you who have not paid any attention to what San Francisco has done up to this point in the offseason. Garoppolo still on this roster, which is somewhat problematic for building this team out. Why is that? A cap hit in 2022 of $26.9 million. And I think it's wise, I think it's smart for the Niners as an organization to rip the Band-Aid off. You exhausted that draft capital to move up for Trey Lance. I think he has otherworldly potential. It's time to see what he can do in this offense. You owe it to yourselves because of you selecting Trey Lance at number 3. You owe it to Lance because of what you've told him and how you've been able to develop him over time. And with Garoppolo, if he does come back to this team, I don't see how it's possible without a contract restructure to have a backup potentially worth almost $27 million. So are the Niners really going to keep Garoppolo on this team with that cap hit? A former Niner, Richard Sherman, who looks to be getting into the broadcasting space in a very impressive fashion, Richard Sherman, thinks that Garoppolo is going to return to the Bay. He said this: I think Jimmy G is going to be on the team during training camp. I think he'll be more of a safety valve, a really expensive safety valve. And if he's on the hook for $27 million nearly, that is a very, very expensive safety valve, no question about it. Congrats to Richard Sherman, by the way, for signing that deal for broadcasting to hop on board Amazon. So Richard Sherman thinks that Garoppolo could be on this team. I want you to look into your crystal ball, and I want you to predict if Garoppolo is on this roster week 1. Richard Sherman said preseason. I'm asking you week 1 to change up the question. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Next cut candidate to get to, Trey Sermon, running back, 3rd-round pick in 2021 out of Ohio State, the transfer from Oklahoma, who in his last year with the Buckeyes was great. But in his first year as a rookie in the National Football League, he didn't really have that many opportunities as evidenced by the numbers because Elijah Mitchell beat him out. So too did JaMycal Hasty and Jeff Wilson. Trey Sermon was also banged up from time to time. 41 carries, 167 yards, 4.1 yards per carry, and only 1 touchdown. It was surprising to me that Trey Sermon didn't get any run throughout the regular season. And when he finally did in the regular season, he got that really nasty concussion. And I think he could be on the chopping block for reasons that I'm about to expand on here in just a few seconds. But this is what John Lynch had to say about the mysterious rookie campaign and Trey Sermon being in the seemingly witness protection program. Trey, I think, had to make an adjustment to how you run in the NFL, and I think that's natural for rookies. And he got in a situation where Elijah Mitchell was playing a lot as the season evolved. Debo became a big part of what we were doing offensively in the ground game. We also had Jeff Wilson once he got healthy, and Raheem Mostert at the start of the year. So it was a crowded room, but Trey is someone we're really excited about, as we are about Elijah Mitchell, and we like our depth in that room, and it's not bad to be able to turn to Debo when you need a play or two. That's true, and John Lynch said that about Trey Sermon before the NFL draft. And what happened during draft time? Well, in the 3rd round for the 2nd consecutive year, San Francisco once again addressed the running back position by taking Ty Davis-Price. So I think Sermon can play. I like the physicality that he brings to the table. He is a one-cut runner, and in Kyle Shanahan's outside zone scheme, that's really important. But the drafting of TDP has Trey Sermon's seat a little bit warm because you're going to keep Elijah Mitchell. You're going to keep Ty Davis-Price, barring a disaster. Then the other running backs who are going to be competing for the last couple of spots, depending on how many running backs the Niners hold on this 53-man roster, it's Trey Sermon, it's JaMycal Hasty, and it's Jeff Wilson. And it's going to be a very intriguing and fascinating training camp battle. And I think that Sermon, I've seen some of the clips of him working out this offseason. He looks great. But he's going to have to prove to me, he's going to have to prove to others that he can be a bona fide back in the NFL. So if you had to pick one between two young players and two third-round picks, who are you going with? Is it Ty Davis-Price type TDP, who reminds me a lot of LeGarrette Blount, a running back who hits the hole very quickly and runs with a full head of steam, or a guy who has a similar skill set in Trey Sermon type TS? Embrace debate in the comment section right now. We're going live on Call-In once again for our third show on Call-In, Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Make sure you subscribe and join us for a live podcast where I'm able to take all of your calls. And we have some work to do here under the Chat Sports umbrella. My boy Harrison Graham, host of Chicago Bears Now, has Chicago Bears Now on Call-In. Up to 172 subscribers. Faithful, where you at? Come on now, show up, show out. Only 52 subscribers. Use that link at the bottom of your screen, chatsports.com/49ers call-in. Subscribe to the channel and join us for our live podcast. Think Twitter Spaces, but even better. We also have a super commenter club and a super subscriber club. All of you have received the invitation to join us live on the show, and all of you watching have the invitation to join us. By the way, the link for that show available in the comment section and the description. Shout out to BK from the Bay, Everardo Rodriguez, Quinn Price, Stanley, watching from Hawaii, Draco Pimpin, Birdman Drug Stories, Wet Noodle 187, George Garcia, Ruben Bacanegra, and Taylor Bean. I've seen all of you active in the comment section. That's why you're on this graphic as part of our Super Commenter Club. Make sure you join us Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, live on Call-In. Two more cut candidates to get to, and we shift from the offensive side of the ball to the defensive side of the ball. In Javon Kinlaw, who has become somewhat of a controversial figure the last 2 years, his first 2 years in the NFL. Why is that? Well, he was drafted 14th overall back in the 2020 NFL draft out of South Carolina, and he simply has not lived up to expectations. It doesn't really come down to ability. It comes down to injuries. He's battled knee injuries his first 2 years. Year one, nagging knee injury. Year two, that continued. Even after an offseason procedure, that then led to him getting surgery on a partially torn ACL. Now, if the 49ers were to cut him, he does have a dead cap hit of $9 million. But San Francisco is so deep along the defensive line that they can afford to let go of Javon Kinlaw if he gets injured again and if he simply does not perform. Career stats up to this point. This isn't what you look for from a former first-rounder in 2 years. 41 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a sack and a half, 4 pass breakups, 1 interception. And honestly, for Javon Kinlaw, he has been more notable for biting the head off of a squirrel than what he's actually done for this 49ers team. Now, like Trey Sermon, I am a believer in the talent. I think there's a lot of reasons for why he went in the first round. Has to prove it to us, though, and most likely has to stay healthy in order for him to have an impact on this 49ers roster. NFL stands for not for long. If you don't produce, you can't make the club from the tub. There's also this. When you look at the 49ers team building philosophy, they prioritize that defensive line. They didn't need to select Drake Jackson in the second round, but best player available, they realize that he has some stupid potential, so they continue to replenish and reload on the defensive line. And even without Javon Kinlaw, who last year the play of DJ Jones made us forget about Javon Kinlaw, I think this Niners team would be able to survive. Kinlaw, I like you. I like your game. I like your swagger. I like your confidence. I want to see you stay healthy, and if you don't, you might not make the 53-man roster. Will Kinlaw ever live up to being that first-round pick? It's a monster season for him, especially with that fifth-year option looming because he's a former first-rounder. B for beast, W for weak sauce. You think that he ain't all that much, let me know down below. Also, give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior. A lot of you are already following. I want to continue to stack up the followers with all of you in the faithful. Tweet out the stories, tweet out the shows, tweet out news and rumors, tweet out video clips, and answer a lot of your DMs. Best way to get in touch with me, just mention me with a tweet. I'll be sure to respond at Chase_senior, same handle on both Twitter and Instagram. Last cut candidate to get to, Samson Ebukam. And honestly, this one would make a lot of sense because of some of the reasons that we talked about with the defensive line depth, but also you look at the contractual numbers for Sosa. That's his nickname. He has a cap hit of $8.2 million, but only a dead cap hit of $1.7 million. What does that mean? His cap hit, if he's on the roster, $8.2 million. If you let him go, you don't have to worry about that dead cap hit. All that is the dead cap money, all the dead money, it's only $1.7 million. After the middle portion of the season, I thought Samson Ebukam, who came over from the Los Angeles Rams in free agency last year, was a very solid player. He started to turn it up. And this system, defensively for D'Amico Ryans and defensive line coach Chris Kocurek, can be a complex one to learn. And we saw it with Charles Omenihu. We saw it with Arden Key. We saw it with Samson Ebukam. To start the year, they struggled a little bit. From the middle part of the year on, though, all of them were really, really good. That's what we saw from Samson Ebukam. But if the dollars get tight, he could be on the outside looking in. So that right there, your 49ers cut candidates. Where do the Niners defensive line rank in the NFL from 1 to 32? I'm talking from a team perspective, 32 teams in the NFL. I think they're top 5, no question about it. And before we hop on out of here, let's recap our cut candidates following the NFL draft. Jimmy Garoppolo, he has that cap hit of $26.9 million. Trey Sermon, a former third-round pick who's a little bit on the hot seat right now, barely played last year. And then the Niners went with another running back in the third round once again, and Ty Davis-Price out of LSU. It's going to be a nice training camp competition. Javon Kinlaw hasn't really played much his first 2 years, barely played at all last year because of that ACL surgery, and then Samson Ebukam as well. All cut candidates following the NFL draft. We'll do another one of these videos maybe in a few weeks and in a couple of months. And before we hop on out of here, another reminder, subscribe to the channel as we approach 60,000 subs. If you like the videos that we cook up, if you like the content that we produce, it's on the daily. Free videos every single day. Just hit that red sub button down below or plug in that link, youtube.com/49ers TV.